Senator John Fetterman, Pennsylvania's outspoken Democrat, has become one of the most vocal and steadfast supporters of Israel in the United States Senate. Known for his direct style and willingness to break with party lines, Fetterman has made it clear that his commitment to Israel is not just political, but deeply personal and principled. He stands out in his party as an unwavering defender of Israel, often taking positions that set him apart from many of his Democratic colleagues. Fetterman's support is visible not only in his words, but in his actions, wearing an Israel flag pin and attending pro-Israel events. Since the October 2023 Hamas attack, Fetterman has made his support for Israel central and public. Even as many Democrats call for a ceasefire, he has repeatedly spoken out, emphasizing the importance of standing with Israel during its time of crisis, and has not shied away from controversy. He frames the conflict as a clear-cut response to terrorism, insisting Israel's actions are necessary for self-defense. Fetterman argues that Israel has the right and obligation to protect its citizens from attacks, and that the world must recognize the threat posed by Hamas. Fetterman rejects calls for a ceasefire without Hamas's defeat and the return of hostages, often clashing with his party's progressive wing. He has faced protests and criticism, but remains firm, arguing that a ceasefire would only embolden terrorists and prolong the conflict. He sees the war through a lens of moral clarity, holding Hamas solely responsible for the devastation. For Fetterman, the suffering in Gaza is a direct result of Hamas's actions, and he believes that peace can only come once the threat is eliminated. Despite mounting pressure from activists, colleagues, and even some constituents, Fetterman remains a solitary, consistent pro-Israel voice in the Senate. His unwavering stance continues to shape the debate within his party and the broader national conversation about America's role in the Middle East. Fetterman's push for peace is direct and unwavering. He has made it clear, both in public statements and in private meetings, that the violence must end for the sake of innocent lives on all sides. His approach is not just about rhetoric. He's calling for real, tangible action that could change the course of the conflict. He urges Hamas to accept a deal, release all hostages without delay, and bring an immediate halt to the war. Fetterman emphasizes that the suffering of civilians, especially children and families, cannot be justified by any cause. He believes that the first step toward peace is a humanitarian one, freeing those held captive and stopping the bloodshed. He places responsibility for ongoing violence squarely on Hamas, arguing that peace is possible if they agree to the terms. Fetterman insists that the world is watching, and that the group's choices will define the future of the region. He calls on Hamas to demonstrate true leadership by choosing dialogue over destruction. Fetterman credits the administration's peace efforts, acknowledging the difficult diplomatic work happening behind the scenes. But he insists that any resolution must guarantee Israel's security and the safety of its people. He argues that peace cannot come at the expense of one side's right to exist. His message is blunt: Hamas must choose peace or its own destruction. Send the hostages home, now. Fetterman's words are meant to cut through the noise and make the stakes clear. He refuses to equivocate or soften his stance, believing that moral clarity is needed in times of crisis. He frames the debate to pressure Hamas, not Israel, and appeals to the world to demand action from the group. Fetterman wants international voices, governments, organizations, and ordinary people to unite in calling for an end to the violence and the safe return of hostages. For Fetterman, the path to peace is clear and moral. Hamas must act. He believes that only decisive action can break the cycle of violence and open the door to a lasting solution for both Israelis and Palestinians. His stance simplifies the conflict, making the choice stark for all watching. In Fetterman's view, the world faces a defining moment, one where the demand for peace must be louder than the calls for war. Fetterman is sharply critical of pro-Palestinian protesters, accusing them of ignoring Hamas's role in prolonging the war. He challenges why demonstrations target Israel and the US, but rarely demand that Hamas accept peace. Fetterman's social media posts and commentary highlight what he sees as hypocrisy. Good morning to everyone except protesters not calling on Hamas to accept the deal. He argues that true concern for Palestinian lives would mean pressuring Hamas to end the conflict. Despite risking backlash from progressives, Fetterman stands firm, forcing a debate on the real obstacles to peace. The Israel-Hamas conflict took a dramatic twist when former President Trump unexpectedly entered the peace negotiations, injecting new energy and controversy into the ongoing efforts. His involvement quickly became a focal point in international headlines, with many speculating about the potential impact of his unique diplomatic style and reputation for bold, unconventional moves. Surprisingly, Hamas signaled a willingness to consider a Trump-brokered deal, a move that caught many observers off guard and suggested a possible opening for dialogue that had previously seemed impossible. Senator John Fetterman responded with characteristic pragmatism, emphasizing that the ultimate goal should be results, not who gets the political credit. He made it clear that, for him, the priority is saving lives and ending violence, regardless of which party or leader is responsible for progress. Fetterman publicly urged Hamas to accept any viable deal that could bring about peace, stressing that the stakes are too high for political posturing or ideological purity. At the same time, he has not hesitated to criticize fellow Democrats who accuse Israel of ethnic cleansing, calling such accusations a betrayal of core values and a distortion of the conflict's realities. Fetterman's willingness to cross party lines and praise progress, regardless of who brokers it, underscores his focus on ending the war. He has repeatedly stated that peace should be a bipartisan goal, not a partisan talking point. His actions have brought to light the deep divisions within the Democratic Party, while also creating a rare moment of bipartisan cooperation, centered on the urgent need for peace in the region. For Fetterman, the moral imperative remains clear: support Israel, defeat Hamas, and secure a lasting peace, no matter who helps make it happen. 2 years after the Hamas attack, a fragile hope for peace emerges as negotiations intensify. Fetterman's consistent advocacy for Israel and demand for Hamas to accept a deal have shaped the debate. He insists, the war must end, hostages must come home, and Hamas holds the key. A successful deal could reshape the Middle East and U.S. politics. Failure risks renewed bloodshed. Fetterman, Trump, and the administration all push for peace, despite complex dynamics. The world watches, hoping this rare opportunity leads to lasting resolution. For the first time in years, a real path to peace seems within reach.